Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, March 22nd, and we've got another exciting week ahead of us in the markets. Hopefully, we'll see some bit of volatility. This is Nadex Morning Analysis. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple is Brian Caprice. And before Brian and I get into a couple of hot spots in the markets for today, I need to share that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk, and that this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. So when I say it's going to be an interesting week, maybe, I guess we'll see how it ultimately plays out. I mean, it is spring, but we do have Fed Chairman Powell speaking in exactly 14 minutes. So I think what we'd like to do today is let's take a look at some potential places that could be potentially impactful, and then try to get us out of here so we all can sort of listen to what he has to say, and then keep our eyes on the markets to see how they might react to that. Of course, that is going to be he's going to start speaking 30 minutes before the U.S. equity markets open. But the gold market is open and trading, although a lot of retail traders still might not come in quite yet. But I think that's where we want to start. Let's, Brian, let's start. Let's take a look at what.
I was going to say, overall, it's a pretty kind of lackluster day, for lack of any better wording. As you can see, I mean, the only thing that comes up as a high impact today is Powell speaking, and it's not even actually technically a speech. It's a virtual panel discussion about central bank innovation at an online event hosted by the Bank of International Settlements. So it's more of kind of a prepackaged type speech. I would say it's probably more or less going to be hypothetical, but Powell is the most powerful person as far as changing the value of the dollar, up or down. What we've seen in the last, really since yesterday's open is, you can see that, the dollar showing weakness more or less across the board. The euro dollar is up, pound dollar is up, dollar yen is up just a little tiny bit. Dollar Swiss down, dollar CAD down, when the U.S. is leading, and then Aussie dollar also up. We're also seeing a little bit of a return of pound strength as well. And that is something that, again, I would expect that we're going to see. I do think Europe has a bit more issues, although it is getting a little bit of a kick up today. So, the data we saw earlier today was not the best for the current account or Germany. But I believe the uptick is actually from this Croatian citizens wanting the euro adopted. And again, kind of makes sense for Croatia why they would want that. Besides that, it's kind of flat. So, I mean, obviously, Powell speaks. Inflation is going to be the first thing that they're going to talk about controlling. In this low interest rate environment, gold is always going to be kind of something that it should be on the forefront. So here's gold, and we're having it on a 30-minute chart right now. Last week, if you guys remember, I kind of boxed it out. I deleted it by mistake, but we had a box this way saying this is kind of what on Friday I expected our intraday curve to kind of look like as far as our extremes up or bottom. It should have been more like this because we've been literally just kind of cruising sideways through this area. So, in looking at this, again, the area that we're bouncing off of right now was that prior area we had talked about, that 1727. It did offer some resistance. It tagged it 3 times before finally breaking through, grabbing the lower level at 1719. And then again, it pushed up. And again, you guys can see it took a bounce here on Friday and then took a bounce here, earlier this morning at 3 o'clock. That's where kind of the reversal was. So with that being said, how do we trade it today? I would say, there's probably a potential level at 1727. Is it the freshest level? No, it's been hit a few different times. It's been supported, but we know if there's any major news, it will get broken through like it did prior. Now, 1719 is still a viable level. We had that very fast spike in and then a very quick exit back out again. So we know that there was definitely some buyers here that, stopped this descent. So keep that on your radar. As far as top side, there's a small, tiny level. If we can get up into here, or if Powell gives us a little bit of a spike up and we start seeing it base, there could be a short from that level that we're looking at today. And again, that's a small one at 1741. But ideally, I think the best place where we've seen major sellers come in, and the reason I say this is at major is because this is at 1 o'clock in the morning. How many major buyers and sellers are in the gold market at 1 o'clock? Where, if you look at something like this is at 3 o'clock. Is 3 o'clock better than 1? Yeah, absolutely. That's when the European markets open. So, it definitely shows you that there was a lot more power behind this move than something like this that really kicked off around midnight, where we started to see it kind of push down. And then once the Europeans stepped in here, it stabilized that push and immediately turned it back. So I would say those are the three numbers I'm looking for: 1752 on the top side, or 1750 on the top side. And 1741 is a minor level. And again, maybe Powell says something that's good that kind of bounces it up, but this is a level that, if we can get some type of a confirmation that it's done, yep. It is something. And then again, to the downside, the 1727 and 1719.
So, and the reason, by the way, just so people recall why we're talking about gold, and I think gold is going to be an important thing to watch over the next few months, because it is the proxy for inflation, right? So when it's the one product where it just translates straight into it. So which is why we want to be aware, when Powell's talking, gold might potentially move. And again, we're trying to just draw you to potential hot spots. Here, these are knockouts. One way to play this, I'm just looking at the knockouts. Down below, we still have that, I'm going to call it roughly 1720-ish level. We know that some buyers definitely had stepped in, and it was a level from in the past as well. It used to be resistance, but once we broke through it, it becomes a support level. So, and this is an if this, then that day. So if gold were to come down here and you were looking to try to catch a bounce, could you do that potentially with a knockout if it got down here? There's a way to do that in a limited risk, limited reward way. And then up above, that 1750 level, where we do know sellers are going to step in and you want to play the if this, then that, you could always take a look at a different knockout that you might want to consider. I mean, there's actually a knockout right there with 1750 as the ceiling. Maybe playing a little too close with fire, but as you watch what gold does, and you get a confirmation move, I mean, if it were to come up here, see some resistance and then start coming back down, you could potentially consider just going with the Delta One product, just trading the price of gold with a knockout. Remembering that you do not have to wait. These are week-long contracts. You do not have to wait a week to get out of them. You get a move in your direction, you can always liquidate either for a partial profit or get out for a partial loss if you're if it's going against you as well. But one way to potentially play gold today, if it does in fact move around because of something that Powell says. Brian, let's pick one other thing, because I do want to make sure that people have an opportunity to listen to what he has to say. Something in equities probably makes sense.
Yeah, probably NQ, because again, that's been the most kind of, I guess, affected by kind of the speeches and things that he's been mentioning and raising interest rates, as well as we saw that sector rotation coming through. So, kind of the same thing. Now, you guys know that NQ, the way to play this one typically is drop it down to a 15 and look for decent moves. I would say probably, right now there's a small level we just banked off of. It's very tiny. I don't know that that's something that a Powell speech is going to hold. We do have the Friday close sitting right down here, and there's a little level. It actually looks better on the 30. Yeah, you can see it right there. And again, this is kind of the weekend area, so you can see that we did have some buyers stepping in here at approximately 12,818 level. And I'm going to turn this yellow just because, as you guys can see, I'll shrink it, red, blue zone, green zone. So it's kind of sitting smack dead in the middle right there. So it's not really, we don't necessarily have a bullish or bearish bias right now based off of it. We do have, this little level here. This was Thursday at basically 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Was the last really, really strong, crazy push, and that's what we just bounced off of. So I don't know if that's going to be a holdup because of the close proximity. I would say right now, two areas. Again, there is this 12,818. If Powell says something that pushes us down and we start seeing some basing, maybe even a potential, kind of the same kind of pattern, but coming from the top side, right? The same type of Harry Potter move can end up giving us the same kind of lightning bolt effect off that same level. That's a potential too for the open, or even at 10 o'clock. Remember, 10 o'clock, 10:30 are the most common reversal times in the morning between that 10 and 10 a.m. I'm sorry, the 10 and 10:30 a.m. time. If Powell's able to drive us down and whatever he says today, slow, or we just kind of base sideways and then the open from 9:30 to 10 is straight down, this is a potential level down here where we could see a little bit of a bounce, and then 10 o'clock, 10:30, we start to rally back up again. But I would keep on my radar this 13,064, 13,089 is a level that, again, was tested. It is in the upper third, so we know that this is where we turn bearish again. Downside, if we're able to push through, the next time we have a really clean level is down at 12,575 and 12,535. So we got some room to run if we're able to break this. And again, if you wanted a potential kind of continuation pattern through, you could see that. But again, like I said, so much of this is going to rely on what Powell says. In particular, and again, if it's not today, if we don't have the movement today, he's talking tomorrow morning as well. And that's where he's testifying. And this is where I think the big fireworks could actually occur, would be tomorrow morning. So, just something to keep in mind.
So that's actually really important. I mean, today is one thing, but having that on your radar, knowing that he's going to be speaking again tomorrow, it's just one of those things. Now, I did want to point out one thing just quickly, looking over at the Nadex platform, and I know Brian really talks about this a lot here. These are the binary options, and I am going to just kind of show you as I scroll into the U.S. tech, the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq index, Powell is speaking at 9 a.m. I mean, if there was something that he was and this could be more relevant. I don't know what time, Brian. What time is he speaking tomorrow? Is it
10.
The same time? He's speaking at 10.
Yeah.
All right, so
the best times for traders, right? Let's just throw it in there first thing on a Monday morning. It's like so one guy that has the most kind of explosive nature to what he says. 9 o'clock Monday morning. Way to go! And start the week strong.
So, I mean, if he says something explosive, we do have these binary options. There's the 8 to 10 a.m. binary option, and if he were to say something during his 9 o'clock session, this could be where there are a lot of different binary strikes to choose from. If this thing starts moving through multiple strikes, if he were to say something totally bombastic or inflammatory, after that, you'd have to reset it, because then there'll be a 10 to 12 one that would be right after this, where you'd refresh and you would see that populate. I think we have 10. Yeah, we have 10 to 12, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just not there yet. So, some of those shorter duration binary options are going to be could be a little bit more interesting. But then, of course, you've got your daily options. They're just going to, have widths that are a little further apart. So just thought I'd point that out, that if he's speaking, you can get a little win-win out of some of those shorter duration binary options if he were to say something. All right, he's going to be speaking. He's going to start in a couple of minutes. Brian, is there anything else that you want to just kind of toss out there quickly, just as a closing? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, looking at where we are so far, silver's taken it on the chops. I mean, it's down 2.7% already. Gold's only down 0.7, so we're seeing kind of a little bit of decoupling. I don't know if that's in preparation for what he's saying or just slower recovery. Also, oil is in a very interesting situation where we've hit a level, kind of bounced off of it a few hours ago, but it is trying to push down. But we do have some buyers in the bottom third down here at 60.50.
Yeah, perfect. So, hey, I'm going to tell you, I mean, obviously everyone's got their eyes on the equities markets. We're always going to be talking about the equities markets. If there's something compelling in the foreign exchange markets, the FX markets, we'll be looking at that as well. I just have a feeling for the next couple of months, there's going to be a couple of products that if you don't trade them, you might want to keep your eye on them, namely gold and oil. One about a recovery in the economy and maybe demand being pushed up. That would be oil. And then when we talk about inflation, it's all about gold. So we're going to continue to track gold and oil just because they seem to be hot topics, not just for the day, but they might be that way for the next couple of months as everyone waits to see what's going on. So that's if you're not familiar with those markets, you might want to start thinking about it. All right, with that, Powell's going to be speaking, or at least start speaking in a minute. So we'll listen and wait and see what those news stories say and how what the headlines are and how people start digesting it. If you've got any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Brian is also very accessible. You got questions for Brian, please reach out to him. Support@keeptradingsimple.com. With that, it is a Monday. Powell's going to be starting to speak here any moment. Brian and I will be back tomorrow morning. We will catch you then. And until then, good luck in the markets, everyone. Thanks.